This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. The minutes of the meeting from last meeting. I need to get approval on that. Can somebody make a motion? Has everybody seen the minutes? Anybody has any questions or comments?
So move.
Okay,
Second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. Ken, do we have a quorum? Did you count?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, go ahead and give us a financial report.
Okay, hold on here just a second. Okay, we started the month with a balance of $19,152.76. We deposited absolutely no money, and I'll explain in a second. We had 2 refunds for the Newham workshop of $15 for each of those, so that's $30. And that left us then with a balance of $19,122.76. The reason for no deposits is everybody that paid anything paid it to PayPal, and the money did not move from PayPal to our bank account in the month yet. So that's why that was at 0. We do have the money, but it's just different account, and it doesn't count towards the bank statement.
Did I didn't hear you mention about the $1,000. I guess I wouldn't.
It wasn't in last month.
Oh, okay.
Remember, the treasury report for this month is really for the month.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. All right. So that's. Do we have any new members?
We have 3.
Let's go ahead and vote them in then.
Okay, we have Denise Preticelli, who's a tech, K04UQ or UOQ. We have Matt Ford, who's a general, KF5JRP. And we have Angela Vogel, who's a tech, K04ICV. Those are the 3 that we have.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And can you notify them after we vote them in that they're accepted, right?
No,
Oh, okay. We need to.
we've never not accepted anybody. I notify them that they have applied and that they're going to be voted on at this meeting when I get their information on their application and their money. So
Okay, I probably should go ahead and send them each one of them a welcome message. If you can send me their contact information by email or whatever after the meeting, I'll go ahead and send each one of them a note.
Okay.
Welcome.
I have it automated to the point that it automatically goes to the chair, to the secretary, and I'll just copy you in on the 3 people.
Okay, I'll send them a message. Okay, so we back to.
Okay, can you turn your, no, you can't turn your sound off.
You want me to kill
Well,
mine?
I was trying to get, so people could hear, but, okay.
There we go. All right. Time for reports. Bruce, you want to go ahead and do your report first? You need my camera?
I think this camera's working, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's working.
Hi.
Yes.
Okay, classes are done. We made them in 5 or 6 weeks, depending on the class. And then we followed up with a workshop, which we said we were going to do. On the 30th, we had a workshop. We invited 14 people, 10 showed up. Pretty good for a bright, sunny spring day. And my sense of it, and I guess yours, everybody else was there, that they had a grand time, a lot of bonding between old hams and new hams. They learned to make antennas. They learned to use antenna analyzers. They learned to they learned all the stuff from George on Skywarn, all the kind of basic stuff. Learning what to say CQ versus listening, all that sort of things. Got a chance to look at satellite stuff. So we went from 10 to 4. We've got some things we need to improve next time, but I think we got it nailed down pretty well. So our next round will be that part of field day, which will be not for new hams, but new upgrades. People learning how to do HF. And then our plan is to work on Frost Fest, put the whole thing together at Frost Fest. And that requires a lot of us to step up to helping with Frost Fest, because that's a rebuild for RAC. So you'll be hearing people knocking on your door saying, come help us with Frost Fest. And if you want a Frost Fest, you probably have to step up. So that's the end of my lecture. Anyway, here you go.
The funding for these two workshops, the one we had the other day and the one that's going to happen at Field Day, and hopefully the one at Frost Fest, is being funded by the $1,000 grant that we got from ARRL. We've already had some matching money come in. We're not obligated to match this grant, but we did have some matching money come in. I think it's at this point is about $250 of matching money. So you know, we're going to have money for education, and I'm exploring other grants, you know, for the future right now to see if we can establish the educational program and have it actually fund itself, where the chapter doesn't have to fund it. So that being said, thank you, Bruce. And Mike Friedman, I understand you have some information for us tonight.
Yes. Hey, curious, how many people are there at the meeting tonight?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us.
Okay. Is it possible to share a screen with me? Because I wanted to show at least the folks at home who are watching part of what I was going to discuss.
Yeah. Can anybody share?
I'm doing it right now. Do you see
Yeah, you
it?
got it.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what I wanted to show everyone is a couple of weeks ago, I started a simplex group in Richmond, and it's starting off as 2 meter, but it's anything simplex. So I've got on my display some simplex frequencies we noted in Richmond, in the Richmond area, and what they're used for. And so my point of all this, at the very bottom, I have included my email address if anyone wants to join this simplex group. And what we do is we just stay in communication with one another via a group, Google Groups email listserv. And so far, there have been a few of us who've gone out just like at the last moment, hey, I'm going to activate on 146.490. Let me know if you can monitor. And we're having a lot of fun with it. There is a group that there is a Slack account, which it's called social media, but it's not social media like YouTube, like Facebook. It's more for companies. So it's got a company platform to it, a business platform, but it's free to people and groups to use with limited capability. And there's one called RVA Hams. It's been out for years. N1VCU Reed told me today that someone else started it actually for all the amateur radio operators and clubs in town. They'd have one repository for signing up for groups, group events, you know, for bike races, whatever. That's how RVA Hams came about. I've been a fan of it, and there are probably about 30, maybe 30 or more people who are signed up. We're also using that to communicate with simplex operations. And also, and I wanted to show that, I've got that here on my screen to show you as well. So they have a whole bunch of different channels. One's for RARC, one's called RAGChew. We've got this simplex where we just communicate. And you see over the past few weeks, we've been sharing pictures, frequencies, we've been monitoring people we hear. There's a lot out there. So if any of you have an interest, and again, Reed mentioned, by the way, John and Club, that if there is a link to RVA Hams from the Richmond Amateur Radio Telecommunications Society website. He's willing to do the same for RARC. So if you'd like for him to provide you with those details, you're welcome to add it to the website. It's just bringing more Richmond ham radio community people together. And I just want to share all of this with you because we're communicating on ham radio, on RVA Hams, you know, all of our simplex activities.
Right.
So I wanted to throw that out to the group. In fact, we've already established some frequencies that we think on the RARC. I know it's a repeater list, but you may want to add these simplex frequencies that are frequently used in the Richmond area.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Mike. I really do. And as far as the website, I'm sure, you know, that's something should go on our website too. I'll be glad to, you know, to have him put a link on there if you want.
Yeah, I'll follow up with an email with both of those, the simplex frequencies that we're finding to be commonly used, which we're finding a lot of hams like to know about, and also the link to RVA hams. It's a lot of fun in that group.
Yeah. Ken and Bruce handle the website, so
Yep.
he can, you know, contact, you know, set up a contact with them and work with them on doing whatever needs to happen on our end.
Will do. Well,
Okay,
thank
thank you. I have a question, and this is off the record, doesn't have anything to do with the meeting. The audio on the TV stations, why are some of them so loud?
So part of that goes to the network. We sometimes receive complaints at public TV, and they will complain about audio levels changing from one content programming to another, and come to find out that everyone's got different levels, but we're really all supposed to normalize this. As you may have seen, there's some rulemaking changes through the FCC, and we try to curb that as much as we can. You know, we actually have to, in some cases, log our audio levels.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a difference between the TV commercials. It seems to be kind of annoying, right?
All I can tell you is when I'm sitting there at night paging through the channels and Emerald comes on and screams at my wife and wakes her up, it's not a happy situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, MeTV has a serious problem with their audio level too.
And all you got to do is bring it up. You could write an email to any of these stations, and if it's a serious problem, they will need to address it, and you're kind of their warning shot.
Good, thank you very much. I appreciate the information.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you for that report, and I know we'll all be interested. I already programmed my handy talkie to have all those simplex frequencies. I was listening to you on MRA the other night and heard you read off the frequencies, and I went ahead and put them in the radio, so I know
Great.
we can have people interested in it.
Thank
Any other reports for tonight?
Yeah, Ken here.
Yeah, Ken.
I'm just going to report that the remote station has behaved itself ever since we rearranged everything and thereby found out that one of the connectors on our coax was faulty. Once we replaced that and the other movements that we made at the remote station, it's been behaving itself.
Good. Yeah. Okay, I'll mention, I don't know, is Ken the tavern here? Ken, are you around?
Ken's just coming on right now.
Okay. I want to let him go ahead and talk about his meeting coming up this Tuesday. Next Tuesday. By the way, we'll be conducting license tests at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Barnell Library this weekend. So if any of you out there haven't taken your test or know somebody that needs to take a test from the last round of classes or anything, we'll be holding the license testing, 10 o'clock in the morning, Barnell Library on Rattlesnake Road.
Yeah, another comment about that. I happened to talk to Alan. I sent an email to every student that we had this time because we didn't have a test immediately afterwards. And in talking to Alan, he said he's never planning on coming back to the church to teach license classes.
Yeah, he told me that too.
Yeah, basically it's because for handicaps, it's highly difficult to say the least. And at the library, it's on one level. And he said they've been very nice to him over there. So
Libraries, yeah, the library is a very convenient situation.
so he said he's planning on staying at
Sorry.
for as long as possible.
Okay, all right, before we move on, any other reports tonight? Okay, then, Okay, Ken, I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about, let us know about the meeting that you're planning to have.
Okay, yes, I'm having trouble getting my video stuff going here, but I think you can hear me okay?
We hear you fine.
Okay, I'd like to get together again on Tuesday, a radio builders group. We don't have an agenda. We're fairly loose. But there's a number of people that have ordered the kits from QRP Labs. The QSD, I think is the one that's called, requires some construction. There's coils to wind on there, and also there's MS surface mount devices to go on there. And so what I was planning on doing Tuesday is running a little seminar, a little workshop in how to solder surface mount devices. And also a little thing on winding toroid coils. These are things that some people have already done and know how to do very well. And there are others that this is very new to them. And, you know, sometimes they're just afraid of the dexterity, you know, and you know, the small parts and things like that. I am one of these people that at my age, I don't have very good feeling in my hands and fingers. I don't have the dexterity I used to have, but I found ways to compensate for this and to be able still be able to, you know, do some surface mount device work. You know, I'm not perfect at it, but, you know, I can get enough done so that the stuff that looks halfway decent, never looks professional, but hey, that's the thing of kit building. Anyway, so Tuesday, this Tuesday at my place, for those of you that are not on the mailing list, that have not got it, if you want to attend, please send me an email and I'll send you directions. We'll be here from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 4 in my garage. If you come, please park on the street. Be mindful of the sprinkler heads that are right next to the curb. If you drive over them, they break, and then the homeowner association hollers at me. You know, I'm in enough trouble with them anyway. So anyway, you can reach me at K4ZUT dot or period ham, HAM, and that's at gmail.com.
Okay, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll look forward to seeing you. But by the way, I ordered one of the little tuna kits that you were recommending. So I don't know how long it'll take to get it, but I'll be building that.
Okay.
I did have one other message that came through that I wanted to read to you. Darren Faulkner is heading up the Special Olympics radio volunteers, and he still needs some people. So if any of you can help Darren out with the University of Richmond Special Olympics communication stuff, please give him an email. His excuse me. His email is Darren Faulkner. It's DARREN LFAULKNER. Darren L. Faulkner at gmail.com. I know he'd be very appreciative if he can get some people to help him out on it. So that was one thing I had to relate to you all. And I think that was the only thing I had. Is there any other business then for tonight before we adjourn and go to the educational program?
I think it's a show and tell.
Oh, you want to do, okay, Bruce has a show and tell.
So I'll pass this around the guys in here, but that piece of coax with on the counter on it, that's the culprit that Mike found that was causing all of our problems. At least it looks like it caused all of our problems in the remote control station. So that piece has been replaced. We did a lot of other stuff, putting toroids on everything else. We didn't know what it was, and when he got in there trying to get it set up, he found it was all kind of, as you would see, we pass it around, all kind of melted. So apparently, what we just say, some of the coax shield, some of the coax shield, just a few strands were holding. So at 100 watts, you kind of get that thing going and it would begin to warm up. And what was happening was we're getting intermittent breakdown. So far it's acting as reliable as a repeater. So that's what we're hoping for. Anyway, that's the show and tell.
All right, one thing I wanted to ask, I've had a number of requests about the remote station, how to use it.
Yep.
Are you gonna be doing anything anytime soon?
Again,
Yeah, we need to have it. I know that Will was one of the people that was trying to use it.
All right.
Good, thanks. So, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead now and turn the program over to, well, let me go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn the business meeting. Okay, okay, anybody second?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. Our speaker for tonight is Rob Thomas. Rob and I have been working on a project, mostly Rob. One of the medical conditions that a lot of us have require us to know what amount of oxygen we have in our blood. And you can go to Walgreens and you can buy a little gadget that you clip on your finger and it'll tell you pretty much what your pulse and your oxygen level is. But Rob's trying to do something better. He's trying to do it where it shows up on a website. He built an oximeter that will allow you to monitor your oxygen remotely off of a website. And so he's going to talk about that tonight and some other stuff going on with Raspberry Pi. So I'll go ahead and turn the program over to Rob.
Now, can everybody hear me?
Can everybody hear Rob?
Yes.
clear because you can. I have my audio turned. Why don't you turn your?
I'll turn my audio off and then you can go again.
Now we can't hear him at all.
Nope.
Can't see him either.
How's that?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. And then screen share.
Down at the bottom of the screen. There you go.
Okay, now can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Just getting my navigation tools running here. Oh, I can hear myself. What happened?
Turn the volume down.
Oh, I see. It moved to the top. They rearranged the menu. Okay. And hold a shift, no. Stop sharing, no.
Oh, this thing decided.
Stop share. Okay, there we go. All right, as soon as I get back to being able to see my face so I know what I'm talking about. All right. I have windows that normally fit on a 43-inch TV that I use as a monitor, all crammed onto my 13-inch laptop. So there is my, okay. So what we're going to talk about is a couple of things. I want to go over with you, first of all, if you have Raspberry Pis or other devices, how to get them on your Wi-Fi. This can be either really simple or really complex. And I'm going to really skip over the really complex stuff tonight because some of it I still have not resolved as to why it is so unpredictable. But I'll give you the overview without the details. And so sometimes it would be nice, and say in John's case, we were working on this oximeter. It was going to be on Wi-Fi, and it would be nice to display the output from the oximeter on the network, so you could go to an address and you could get the data there. That would imply that you could also go to it through Safari or something on your phone or any other device, another Raspberry Pi, anything on your network, any computer on your network, and look at the data. So that's pretty cool. It would be also nice if you went to somewhere else, say like the church here, and you were not on Wi-Fi, to have it set itself up as a hotspot, a Wi-Fi hotspot with or without internet connection. That turned out to be a real can of worms, such that I probably reflashed that SD card 25 or 30 times and locked myself out of the Pi every time. And what we're using here, and I'm sorry to say, is a Raspberry Pi Zero, which you can't get anymore because scalpers bought them all up. And a lot of the Raspberry Pis are now actually out of production. Well, they're in production, but they're out of stock at most of your distributors. So hang on to those old Pis because they're worth their weight in gold. And we don't know really when they're going to be back. And if you do see some on eBay or something going for 15 or so bucks, report them to eBay or on Amazon, report them because they're not supposed to be buying in bulk. And everybody like Raspberry Pi, SparkFun, Adafruit, and all those people have gone and put robot blockers on their website so you can only buy one at a time. And then if you want another one, you can work through their pay system and buy one or more, but you can't buy 50 and then sell them on eBay for, $30 more or something. So that era has ended. However, you still can't get the little buggers. So we've been working with the Raspberry Pis that we did have, the Zero, and I went with the Zero because it's very small and ultimately could be powered by a battery. And our ultimate goal is for something that John can wear on his wrist, and it will be on the Wi-Fi, totally tetherless. Other things that I'd like to put into it is look at some other chips. There are some ESP8266 Wi-Fi chips. And if you look at how those are set up through the Arduino IDE, it's really like sticking your hand down your throat to scratch your back. And only if all the libraries match up with your version release of the Arduino IDE is it going to be painless. Otherwise, it'll be just about as bad as, reflashing 50 SD cards or 30. So I opted not to take that route right away until that all stabilizes. The good news is in all this, if you remember, my last presentation was about CircuitPython, is that CircuitPython and MicroPython is quite able to work on some of these systems. Again, the ESP32 series is the only one that it's painless on now. And those aren't the ones that have the appropriate amount of CPU speed and RAM to make them practical for this particular project. So that leaves us only with the Raspberry Pi Pico or Pico, which runs at a blistering 135 megahertz, overclockable to 240 megahertz, and will totally run MicroPython and everything. So that's the next iteration of this project. Don't have that running yet, but it will not be Wi-Fi without adding a Wi-Fi shield or cape or whatever to it, which is totally fine, and we can do that. And that thing's that's about half the size of a Raspberry Pi Zero or a stick of gum. It's like 2 chiclets. And there are a lot of things that we're looking forward to doing with that. So we'll have a little OLED screen on there that reads out the pulse rate and the oxygen levels and all those things. And then with the add-on chip, it will be able to go onto the Wi-Fi. So that's the next iteration. So what I'm going to take you through is basically starting from scratch with a bare SD card. I don't know how many folks here have worked with Raspberry Pis on the internet and gotten them on Wi-Fi. Raise the hands. Anyone? Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I don't want to get into too many details if everybody is pretty familiar with that. But there's a new thing. So as we were waiting for the door to open here tonight, I said that half my presentation just blew up because when I was doing my final test today, I went to Raspberry Pi and they have a new installer and it's an image burner. I don't know if everybody has used various image burners here and there, and Raspberry Pi was, I guess, having some issues with that. So they did what they do best. Let's just make our own. So they made an imager, and I'll demo that in a minute. You put your card in and you fill out all the information, but you can put all your Wi-Fi information in there too. You can change the host name. You can do all kinds of really nice stuff and then burn your card, and it's just, you plug it into your Pi and it's on the air immediately. So that's great for headless. If everybody knows what headless means, it means you don't have a monitor and keyboard and mouse. So if you don't turn on SSH and you don't have your credentials in there, there's no way you're going to contact that Raspberry Pi. So that's been one of the challenges in the past. You had to go to the boot sector and write a little script that had your credentials in there called WPA supplicant, which is a file that the Raspberry Pi and pretty much any Linux that gets on Wi-Fi, I believe, will have this WPA supplicant, and it looks in there first for the credentials to sign on to your network. And if you go through raspi-config and change any of that, then it overwrites that file. But if it doesn't exist, or it exists with the wrong credentials and you don't go in and do that special step, you will not be able to get onto the Pi unless you have monitor, keyboard, and mouse, which I have tonight too, just in case. But anyway, so my experience with getting locked out of the Pi so many times is I finally went out and spent, what was it, 15 bucks for a nice little USB hub that hooks into the Raspberry Pi so that I can get on it no matter what. And that's another suggestion I have if you're going to be doing a lot of this, is to get yourself a nice little USB. Yeah, here we go.
What do you want? Well, John, you can flip it over, or you can't. What's happening is it's following the voice.
Oh, but I'm speaking, it's not, I'm not lighting it. Somebody's got their audio on.
You're the only one who has the audio on.
Okay, what's this mean? Somebody's got focus. Bruce?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
look,
it's right here, okay?
okay. Is that me?
You all
Oh,
seeing a table?
You gotta share a screen.
No, his doesn't have it on a screen. It's right here on the camera.
Oh,
No, we don't see it.
Yeah, we see it.
okay,
Okay,
we're
so
just
there
not, we're not on the right page here. Okay, good. I wish I could see what, let me go over
Well,
here.
I can see you here.
Yeah, I can see me here too.
It's under my name. That's the one that has this camera.
Okay,
You're going in this camera, your stuff is going in this camera, okay?
gotcha. That's why.
We have a 2-camera operation. It's really fancy.
Okay. All righty. So anyway, let's start from the beginning. So I am going to go over here and I'm going to share my screen somehow. There we go. Everybody see that? So
Yes.
that is the new, it's the website raspberrypi.com software. You come down and they have this new imager. It's just slick. And you go and download, click that here, download it. Everybody familiar with the imaging thing on Mac OS or?
Or Windows or Linux.
Yeah. Okay, and then what happens is it ends up. Can't see that, I guess. It'd be nice if I could, okay. Anyway, it ends up in your applications. So let's put an SD card in. That's one.
We got the most low light place we could get to show this thing.
Yeah.
What happened to my?
Oh, I put it where I'd find it. Okay, let's put our SD card.
Let's see if, okay, so we're here looking at this bunch of stuff here, right? You
Yeah.
got it over there.
Okay,
Oh, you're putting your SD card in.
I'm putting my SD card in. And now I'm going to share a different screen. It's not showing up on here. All right. I'm sorry, my Zoom skills are pretty minimal here. So let's stop sharing that for a minute. Trying to get to my stop share. Okay. Go here. For some reason, my app screen is not showing up in my shareable.
Not a good focus either.
No, because this thing is here, I'm not able to actually choose it. Ah, there it is. Okay. Is there a way that I can just choose my entire screen?
There is, but I don't know how it is, how you do it on a Mac.
Okay.
More or less in focus now. So that's good.
Okay, advanced. Portion of screen. Portion of screen. Okay. Ah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay.
John, could you move this?
So it asks you to choose your OS. And this is really exciting because, you know, normally they want to push to you the latest OS. Well, that's really great. But some of the stuff you want to run is older, not deprecated, but it's just older stuff. And you might want to run it on Buster. And, you know, if you're doing audio, Pulse Audio, Alta Sound, and some of those things, some of the older ones are better than the ones that haven't quite got all the bugs worked out of them. So you might want to use an older one. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to go over to other, and we're going to get legacy Buster with security updates and environment. Okay. And then
This is on raspberrypi.org.com.
yeah, raspberrypi.com software. And then you download that and then you click on that. This is actually the app that you downloaded running, their new app. Then you come over here before you choose storage, you come to this little icon here. Yeah, okay. And so it wants you to set the host name. You can change that, which is real. The reason you want to change this is you're going to ultimately get an IP address, but it's kind of tricky to, you know, SSH into pi at 192.168.1. What was it? But if you just name it, and I'll call this one RF, oops, RF pi, okay. Then later, when you want to SSH into it, you just SSH into pi and RF pi. So you don't have to worry about the IP addresses anymore. That's the host name. And then I want to enable SSH. The SSH, if you don't know, is the way that you can use just a terminal to get into your computer and do stuff, program it, make new directories. There's another thing that I'll show you called VNC. which you can go in and you can actually use the actual desktop on the thing. And we will do that in a minute. Pi and then the password. And I'll just use Bob. All right, hidden SSD. So you notice that it picked up the credentials of the network that I'm on. That's really nice too. A lot of thought went into this design. I don't have to remember, in our house we have Dizdig, Dizdig2, Pabuj, all these Armenian names that nobody will ever hack for all our different networks. And I have to remember, am I on Dizdig2? Why can't I get to my computer? Oh, right. My Raspberry Pi's on Dizdig, which means fart in Armenian, of course, because my kids set it up. But anyway, password, there isn't any password here. Then you can go in and do a lot of these things that you do in Raspi config if you're Raspberry Pi people and you understand what that is. If not, I'd be glad to do another one walking you through all of that. But I'm going to assume tonight that we're all fairly familiar with that. Use local settings, New York, keyboard layout, US. I don't need any sounds. I don't need to enable any telemetry. I'm just going to eject the card when it's done. So now I'm saving all those. Hopefully, I missed something. Oh, password. I wondered it might not take that. Yeah. What's going to happen if I put a space in the password on the credentials? Because it won't let you not put a password. That's what I was afraid of. If this network doesn't require a password, what do I put in? Well, let's
Try unchecking show password.
typing no password.
Yeah, no password, and then, no, not typing. Have nothing but uncheck show password,
Oh,
since you don't have one.
well, now technically, as a web programmer, I would say that only just shows you the password, but that was brilliant. All right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was a good call, maybe.
Not yet.
Nope. Okay, I'm going to put a space in there, but doesn't look like it likes that either. Okay, let's try that. No.
I can remember doing that as a computer guy.
Well, one presentation down the tubes.
Oh, no,
So
I
Hit the enter key. Try hitting the enter key.
what?
Try hitting the enter key.
Yeah, it's not liking it. How about the tab? Okay, we went to tab. Oh, okay. Let's just tab our way down then. Nope, it's still lighting up the password. I'll have to get on a different network probably. What's that? Well, I know it's gonna fail then, but anyway, we'll give it a shot. I don't know that. Oh, it's still not taking it.
So it will not let you open, maybe use an open, security. Yeah, what would you do it, right? Yeah. You gotta be secure.
Really?
Well, I always end up, I find during my lesson, whenever I do a presentation, I always do go through it.
Oh, I did. I went through it twice
No, and I record.
immediately before. Oh, good idea.
This is my,
Okay. Well, I just put spaces in there, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so now we choose storage. There's our card. The worst that can happen is I'll have to go on and put the credentials in. So I don't think it's a huge deal. And right, yes. Okay, now it wants my credentials.
I couldn't get a PowerPoint. And I'm just, when it failed, I switched to PowerPoint.
Oh, Camtasia is great.
You can get it the same thing, right? I did recreation in school church. And I still had paper copy of it. I had my tablet, I had paper copy. All right.
So now you will experience what I experienced with my kids going to numerous Linux users group meetings where we watched kernels compile. It was great fun.
Not me, just kernels.
Just the Linux kernel, the latest from Torvalds, the original one. It was great fun. But they were mentored by some really, really amazing people, I have to say. So when we get to this, I'll talk while this is going on a little bit about a really brilliant way I found, thanks to my son, who's into all this Python stuff for a living. So I was using Apache 2 and a web server and creating web pages to post all the data to with Python, and that's all very doable, but it's very heavyweight. And he said, well, Dad, why don't you just use Flask? And I said, what's Flask? And he said, well, it's a framework where you can just post a weblet to an address and you don't need a web server. Actually, it does have a web server, but it's totally encapsulated in Python. You probably don't want to run it in a production environment because you need additional security and all of those things that you would use with Apache and with all of those other tools. But Flask is available and runs on Raspberry Pi and all of these other little microcontrollers right out of the box. So it's a Python library. And basically what Flask does is it has a little hierarchy that you put your assets into, your web page and everything, rather than having to set up an entire HTML tree. And so then it will post your results out to an address with very little effort and 15 lines of code. So it's really very beautiful. Okay, continue. And now we have an SD card.
You're gonna plug the SD card in.
I am going to.
All right. So change focus of this presentation. So it's looking
Let's
down here,
see,
right?
I'm going to unshare my screen right now. And there I am. Whoa, I'm getting dizzy.
All right, so so that's SD card going in, right?
That's the SD card. And let me talk a minute about, you can see everything. Okay, so this is the little chip that we have set up as a sensor, and it's a pulse oximeter chip. It's the the MAX 30102, which supersedes the 30101. And this is an interesting,
Can you see that better? Yeah, it doesn't improve it much. Okay.
so I can bring this up.
That's good.
Yeah, so basically it has an IR sensor and a red LED and an infrared sensor as well, light as well. So it pulses red and infrared light into your skin and then filters out the reading based on whether the hemoglobin in your blood is saturated with oxygen or not. And if it is, it's one color. And if it's not, it's another color. And the thing is so sensitive that it can actually tell the difference. In fact, it can tell the difference of what your heartbeat is. And that's how it that's how it runs its data capturing cycle, is based on your heartbeat. So you take so many thousand samples per second, and it puts them into a memory block. And then when the memory block is full, it reads them all out and averages them. And then it gives you the average of your heartbeat and the average of your oxygen levels. The interesting thing is, as I was going through the numerous tutorials and YouTubes and everything of how to use this, I noticed that in the documentation for the chip, there was an interrupt pin. And in the manufacturer's data, it said the interrupt pin has to be used so that you know when the memory is full to start reading the data. Otherwise, you're just going to be trying to average hundreds and thousands of samples on the fly, and you'll never get any accurate data. And sure enough, the first few times that I tried it, the data was just wacko all over the place. My heartbeat was 160, the SpO2 was 150 or 70. And so I said, it's gotta be that interrupt pin. So I did some more research, and I found some C programs from the manufacturer that actually showed how the interrupt was used. And I was in the process of trying to translate that into Python when some nice person posted a Python translation. And so I grabbed that right away. And sure enough, the first time I used that, I started getting instantly good data. So that's what's happening here is, and it's running over the I2C bus, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So let's go ahead and fire this baby up. And I'm going to have to do a couple of things here.
So you're hooking it up to you, you're gonna control it from your Mac.
Yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to SSH in and run raspiconfig and turn on VNC, and then we'll be actually able to have a desktop, although I don't really need it. But I'm not sure that I can share. Let me see if I can share one of my terminal screens.
So while he does that, this is the Raspberry Pi, and this is the mechanism that reads that looks at your finger and figures out whether your blood is flowing or not.
Okay, that's great. That's exactly what I want. Okay, so we'll wait a minute. Looks like it should be there. That's why I brought that HDMI cable, because I thought we'd have a monitor to hook that up to. So,
Well, we can do that if you want.
yeah.
Which way would you rather do it? Would you rather bring it up on here, or would you rather plug it into the monitor?
Let's see if I get in. If I don't, then I'll have to.
This camera has a focus on it, but it's a manual focus, so it takes a little bit to.
Okay.
So that's a little bit better focus. You probably will see a little bit better. The camera's doing an amazing job because there's almost no light here.
Let's try this. SSH pi at 192.1.
So I'll learn from entertainment tonight, and I'll grab my camera and I'll come wrapping around here, and I'll show you what's going on here. Here we go.
That's
In case my social security runs out, I gotta have something I could do, so.
all right. Right. So we are going to need a monitor, and I have an HDMI cable here.
All right, so this is gonna be interesting. So we're gonna disconnect you, John. and we're gonna connect him up. We need more wires. We don't have wires.
All right, while we're doing that, so that I don't waste your time. I'll talk a little bit about Flask and do a little screen sharing again.
Anybody getting seasick there? So we're gonna lose the image in here. Do you have your HDMI cable? Hook it up.
I don't know. Well, that's what this is. Do you have HDMI coming from?
Yeah. But then, no, that's only gonna do people in here. It's not gonna, well, not get this camera. Seeing no signal.
Oh. There, maybe it wasn't in all the way.
Still not seeing a signal.
That is what I run through at home to my Samsung. Let me just reboot this thing. I hate to do that. Sometimes it can corrupt the SD card.
Yes. Excuse.
There we go.
Excuse.
That's all it took. Okay. We'll be ready here in a minute. Sorry for the delays and the glitches, but the more complicated everything gets, the more complicated it gets. So anyway, while that's perking along, I'll go over Flask a little bit too. And so the nice thing about Flask is it's just a basic file structure where you have your application, and then you have as little as 2 folders. You can find very complex Flask data structures, and that's not what we're after. We're trying to just post the data from one sensor. So as soon as we get into the Pi, I'll show you how that folder actually looks and some other things. I have bundled it all up into a zip file so that if you want to play with it, you can, and you can basically swap out any sensor, temperature, GPS, or anything else that's an I2C sensor, and its own code, and run it with this. So hopefully it's somewhat portable. Yeah, it takes a minute. I don't know.
I don't think they're gonna be able to see this very well, so I'm not sure what you're gonna see my camera showing.
I can see all that stuff happening.
That's also gonna zoom out.
Okay. Usually that stuff's all turned off.
So what you have to do is you have to look at that bunch of text and you read it real quick. And that tells you what's on. You know, I make a joke out of it.
I'm seeing unable to read stuff, though. That doesn't seem very good.
Well, Raspberry Pi's pulsing, pretty good. I see it pulsing back and forth. So.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I've run this particular scenario 4 times today and I never got any feedback on my monitor like that. It looks like we might have toasted the thing doing something. That's why I don't like to just unplug them. It's not very nice. Sometimes you corrupt the SD card. So let's very easily go back and burn it again. Oh, you can just leave that set up, or unless you need it.
Well, yeah, we could, if the people, but you know, there are folks out there who want to see it as lovely like the people in here.
Somebody came in, Chad, said they hit some traffic. We, let them go ahead and do that.
Yeah, what do you gonna get something cranked up?
I'm sorry, say that again. What I would like to do is get on one of the Baumsee networks that actually has a password. Does anyone have a password for it?
No.
We don't. Oh, okay.
You can do it with phone if you want.
Yeah.
Anyway, while you're getting that done, who wanted to say something about this?
Okay. I have a way we can do it. I still have a way.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yes, we know about this. Yes, David, we've been there, right?
What's this?
He's got David's got a brother-in-law who's crossing the ocean. We used the remote station to check out the connection to the backstay antenna on the sailboat. And it's good that it's a sailboat, because those of us who sail know that it's slicker than whale.
Slicker than a kitty cat? No.
No, slicker than whale. Oh, is he still on? Yeah.
I don't have any audio right now.
Anyway, to let you all know, we ended up using the club's remote station to try and talk to the guy on the sailboat down in Hampton before he took off. So we kind of went back and forth getting that done. Turned out he didn't have the coax connected quite the way it needed to be to the,
What's going on?
I don't know. Didn't have it hooked quite the way he needed it, have it hooked up to his backstay. So David then went down and got that connected right, and we made a 20-meter link to the maritime network at 14.300. And what was interesting is I could talk to maritime network, and he and Hendrik could talk to maritime network. We couldn't talk to each other. So classic thing of relaying back and forth. The old days of relaying.
I'm here.
What the heck is going on here? Zoom has. All right. All right, so what we're gonna do is use my old burner that doesn't require a password. And then I'll just go in and do it by hand.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the burner I used. It was like Balloona or Belega or some funny name like that. Yeah. It worked very well. I had no problem.
Yeah. Belina.
Belina. I knew it was a girl's name, but I didn't know what her name was.
It made me a little nervous because it sounds Russian, so. Checking out what's in my refrigerator or something. Okay, we're done with that. And I don't know what happened to the Zoom thing on here. I don't know where everything went. Maybe you could take a look. My Zoom just resorted
It's
to.
right here, yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah,
It-
yeah. Increase it if you want to blow it up.
Oh, there we go. I don't know how that happened. I probably was looking for something and hit the wrong button. All right, now. It's a little disconcerting that I can't just show you various parts of my screen.
Well, I'm not sure you.
So now basically what you do.
So what
if
do you
you're
want to
not-
show them on the screen?
I'm gonna reinsert the SD card now that it's done, and it's gonna pop up as boot. Okay. And then I'm going to,
We on Entertainment Tonight can do anything you want.
okay.
This is Entertainment Tonight, isn't it?
Exactly.
You're our entertainment tonight.
I am. I'm very entertained. Oh, I think it's coming.
You heard that, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
That's what you get to using Apple stuff.
Ah, here we go. Okay. Look, I can do just as bad a job in Windows, so.
That's true.
No, my kids bought me a Windows gaming machine because it's got such a hot graphics card in it. It needs a liquid cooled.
I got Mike's son's old gaming machine.
It's hot. let me
It's
tell you,
fast.
because I use it for all my CAD stuff.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fast. I'm running it in Linux, so I couldn't get the window. Funny, I couldn't get the Windows to work again, but I was able to get Linux to work, so.
Let's see. My mouse keeps sliding down to the floor because I'm on a podium.
You got a track thing on there, don't you?
Yeah, I don't like it because you can't.
Well, I mean, you can't be choosers.
Wait.
The mouse is not gonna stick with you, that's what you gotta do.
If you're going to change directories, you need the command change. Okay. Copy
What's going on?
WPA.
All of you who like to run code, you could sit here and just kind of watch his fingertips move.
You can watch it? Oh.
Yeah. Get your fingertips in good focus. And I can give you a slow panorama of an enthralled audience sitting there just kind of, checking their phones, doing the stuff that all teenagers do.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm transferring, remember I talked about that WPA conf that's got all your credentials in it?
Mhm.
I'm transferring that over to the boot section of this new card. Boink. And then I'm going to touch SSH. Boot SSH. Oops, it's volumes boot, Bob. Okay. All right, so now if I do ls-l, WPA and SSH. Okay. Let's go over here.
Yeah, they don't use them anymore. You know why? Well, they were really finicky. And also the new Marine Corps thing that has the rotating engines.
Okay, now what was the
Yeah, the
name of
Osprey.
the, let's see here.
I mean, the
What is
Wi-Fi,
that?
it's
Bon Air
UMC.
UMC Public.
Yep.
Yep.
Bon Air.
Yeah. Oh.
The public. All right. Save that. Thanks a lot. I don't want to buy it. Okay. Okay, now the worst that can happen is we don't end up on the Wi-Fi. Is the monitor hooked up now? Let's do that.
Up to this.
Okay. Yeah, let's hook it up to that. So I
No.
Not at all. Not at all, right?
Well, the officers got along most of the time.
can- it's getting so small. My eyes are moving. Okay. Cross your fingers, toes, earlobes, stretching.
Hello, Tommy. What are you doing?
There we go.
Now, they can't see that.
Okay. Oh, they can.
They can't.
That's what we should have seen the first one. Well, we're making progress for those of you that have knitted a scarf. Hey, wait. Oh, that's what it did. It resized. That's what that little screen was. It resized it. Another problem is this is a 250 gig SD card. That's not what you really want. That's pretty sensitive. And I have messed it up a few times, but that's all I had.
250 gig?
256 gig. It was for putting my entire music library on at one time to make a little Bluetooth music thing. And then my son just bought me one. Darn. He said, Dad, why do you want to mess around with that? Here, it's coming Thursday.
Yeah, notice with the Amazon stuff now, they tell you, oh, maybe sometime in the next week. So that's a big change.
And he got me, of course, then he got us for Christmas the amp, the preamp, and it's a tube-based preamp. Yeah, really nice.
Why? We moved away from tubes long ago.
I said, you know, my ears are not worthy of all of this high-tech equipment. But you ought to hear Miles Davis on that. Oh my God. Even though I like Sun Ra. Okay, we're just waiting now for the grass to get long enough to cut. I'll take the award for the most laid back and least presentation that you've had, at least what? Productive? No. Well, actually, what you're doing is you're getting a very good experience of what it is to do this sometimes. It's just that, you know, there are a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. And once it's done, I mean, I've had Raspberry Pis up and running on my network for 5 years. And when the power goes out, they very happily boot right back up and didn't know the difference. So
Well, the other
it's
thing
not
about
like you have to
Raspberry-
do this every
Did I
day.
hear the jingle bells?
What?
What's that?
Now, I have a Raspberry Pi that runs all my radio stuff, but I use something called Ham Pi. You just load the darn thing up and it just does everything. All the software's there and it just plug it in and go. Okay, we got a good screen here, but nothing on it.
Well, it's still chortling, so.
Next time, could you do a talk on what is a Raspberry Pi and just basics?
Oh, what? Okay, that's a very good idea. So I'm, you know, pardon me for just assuming that everybody knew what they are. There we go. So Raspberry Pi is an outgrowth of the microprocessors that are like Arduinos and things like that, that are basically things that allow you to run hex code programs. And you have to upload your hex code program and compile it and all that. But Raspberry Pis are different. They are actually a Linux operating system on a very tiny little board. And this Raspberry Pi Zero that we're using, that's as big as a stick of gum, is something like 10 times more powerful than the IBM PC when it first came out. RAM-wise, speed-wise is probably, I don't know, 1,000 times more. Anyway, many, many times more powerful. And that's because of the chip reduction and everything. So using Linux and some other operating systems, you can basically set them up to be in remote environments and do things like control the rotator on your antenna, tune your magnetic loop, and do all kinds of ham radio things.
Yeah, I have mine hooked up. I use FL Digi and FL Rig to control my radio, and I use PSK, and I do CW and do FT8. And then I use it, I have a logging program hooked up. So what happens is it reads all the stuff off my radio. And when I talk to somebody, all I have to do is key in the call sign. It goes up and looks it up, tells me whether I need that call sign, whether I have talked to that person before. It's a new country, it tells me a new country, that sort of thing. And then I can say, if it looks good and the guy will talk to me, I hit save, and then it gets populated out to QRZ and Logbook of the World. So it's, a lot of you all have that sort of thing under Windows, that's fine, but I have this Raspberry Pi is about the size of my hand. I have a little old TV set sitting over there, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
And it
So-
cost me $70.
Right. And when you could get a Raspberry Pi Zero, I think they were $15. So basically, if you wanted to give a kid a computer, yeah, we know that. If you wanted to give a kid a computer and have an old monitor, old keyboard and a mouse, and a $15 Raspberry Pi, and they can learn Linux, and they can get as far with Linux as it's called LAMP, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and Perl, but now it's Python. LAMP environment, the people that can manage that and operate in there, and our systems administrators coming out of school start at $80,000 a year right now. So that's what you're giving someone as an opportunity. That's my idea, was to go down like through Appalachia and around with this truck called Tech Tacos. And instead of giving kids toys, is give them a Raspberry Pi and an old box of stuff and let them go for it. You know,
The guy at England who came up with it did it
Yeah.
for that purpose.
yeah.
Question for you. You said that the Raspberry Pi had already on it the operating system?
Well, no, you have, that's what I just did, is I
Okay,
flashed.
that's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
So
you have to-
basically, it's just the hardware.
Exactly, and then you flash, that's what I just went through, is flashing the operating system and whatever flavor is of Raspbian that you want. There are other things that run on it as well. I think there are even some.
So I put this thing in my, actually smaller than this.
This one,
Yeah, can you see that big monster there?
that's a micro SD card.
Okay, so I put that in this.
That's kind of like a shoe, so you can get it
and I
into an old
Stick that
burner.
into my computer.
Mhm.
And I download Ham Pi, since that's what I want to use. And it comes with the operating system and everything else. I flash it onto this. I stick it in my Raspberry Pi. I turn on my Raspberry Pi, and voila, it comes up.
Okay, so we're just, can you see all that? They can see it, right?
No, they can't see
Oh,
it yet.
okay.
I'm focusing on.
Point it at them. Point them at it. There we go.
I'm showing you your pretty face, so it's not going to be very well focused. It's just not.
Well, and because that screen is so bright, it's just completely washing the thing out.
So in that case, looking at you.
I don't usually use this. I just usually, but I thought I'd be generous and use their suggestion, which I know better. But anyway, there you go. This might just, we might just have to bail on this thing. Oh. Is that a good sign? Ah, very good. Okay. Now let's.
So he's going to put in a password and everything, which he will do on his keyboard down here.
You know, I don't usually do that through here. Let's do it the real way. Let's go up here. I guess I'll have to get on the knees after all.
You want a chair? I got a chair right here.
Sudo, and I won't go into what that is. If you're a Linux person or Unix, you know that you don't operate as root, which is the super user. You operate at some lower level because of permissions, and you have to write su to the user. Sudo, it gives you permission.
Yeah, I wouldn't show people too much terminal use. I think that would be an absolute turn off.
Sudo res config here.
You just rang the bell in here.
Have to spell it correctly. All right. Let's go down here. I'm going to turn on SSH. Yes. Turn on VNC. Yes. See, those are our sensors. We're going to turn those on. Close thing. That's really. Let's see, this is there. Okay. All right. So we set up all the things we need to run our program. One thing I did forget. So as soon as it boots up, I'll get it back on the network and then we'll be where I wanted to be a half hour ago. I said, as soon as it boots back up, I'll get us on the network and I'll be where I wanted to be a half hour. Anyway, thank you everyone for your patience. If you have any questions, shoot, you know, I'm a captive audience as you are.
Well, no, some of them are on Zoom, they can probably disappear.
Oh, did I disappear?
No, you can.
Oh, you see you.
Oh, they can disappear. Yeah, they might disappear. We might just have a skeleton crew left after all this.
Oh, we see you.
How come I'm so big on here? Can I see everybody? Is that because, oh, okay, I got you. That's one.
I have a question for Bruce. David, KO4RNT.
Sorry, what?
I have a question for you, Bruce.
Yeah.
What is your Raspberry Pi? Was that a package you bought, and where'd you get the ham software?
Okay, it was a package. Actually, my wife bought it for me for Christmas or something. And what we got at the time, there have been several different versions. We got versions.
Oh,
And it got it from, the better place to get it from, to make sure you don't get a nasty clone, is something called Adafruit. ADA Fruit. And it's run by a female engineer. So if you don't like female engineers, there's another one called Spark Fun.
I like female engineers.
Okay, well, those are your two choices. Those are the best places to go. You will not get any better price for something that really works anyplace else. So you get it there, see what you can get. You can do fine with a version 3. There's a version 4 which is faster, but the version 3 will do the job for you. And then you go out to are you familiar with Groups.io? Groups.io, there are a lot. Remember the old Yahoo user groups where you kind of looked at stuff? You could get, you know, they had a thing on antennas and this, that, and the other thing. So that's now, since Yahoo got sick and pretty much died, a group called Groups.io, Groups.io carries that stuff. You go out there, you type, or just type in ham pie, all one word. And in search, it'll take you there. You can download it for free. And you download it, follow their instructions. He's got pretty good instructions. And you basically burn one of these little cards that you saw showing you on your computer. You stick it in the side of the Raspberry Pi. You plug some sort of monitor, an old TV set is what I use, and a $10 keyboard and a $5 mouse into it. And you crank it up. And ham pie includes the operating system, all the stuff you need, and 80 ham radio
It's not even finding
things.
wireless interface. That's bizarre.
So that's
Okay.
forward. And by the way, you can use a Raspberry Pi to set up your computer to run it remotely. Russ W4PGT has worked all that out. In fact, he even makes copies of that. And you can put a Raspberry Pi on your radio and have it take control of your radio, and you can go off fishing someplace. And if you got some device, some connection to the internet, you can actually run your radio remotely. I'm stalling for time here as he does
Okay.
this.
Yeah, it's just not getting on the network, sorry. There's something about that network name that is aliased or spoofed or something, because Bon Air Public in parentheses, I don't think that's a valid network name. And if we had the credentials for one of the other ones, it might work. But let me,
Well, my life machine likes this pump. I think the dog wants to go out. It's Vaughn space air space UMC.
And well, then it has public in it. Oh, you found it?
Just leave public there. I think you just leave public. Vaughn space air space UMC.
Okay, let's give that a shot. So let's do this. Take the public out, right?
See if that does it. That doesn't do it. Tell me what other show I should do.
Does that look good?
Looks good to me.
Okay.
I mean, they may have put the parentheses in to make it difficult to spoof. So it may be that you're locked out when you find out.
Yeah, okay.
Carrot over, write it.
Okay, so that will survive rebooting. So now we just need to do that. Can I restart?
Yes.
I think. See the system control.
Got the man on his knees here.
Control.
But we're in church, so that's okay.
I'm not sure about this.
You go up to the Raspberry Pi thing. With the GUI. The Pi over here. The Pi over here, the little pod, Raspberry Pi. With that, you have log out. You unlog you.
Oh, I could do that. Command line. I was just trying to find a way to restart the Wi-Fi without rebooting the entire thing. But that's probably the best thing to do.
What do you do? I'm going to stop pretty soon.
What's that?
It's coming on the 9.
Yeah. Well, that was hence my email last night. Are we sure we have credentials? Because if not.
We have needed credentials. I'm not sure we're done any good because they have parentheses private on there. Didn't like parentheses public.
Well, but if their name is an alias for something that's a presented thing and it's not really what's going on behind, then it would be pretty hard to put into.
But I've
You
never
know, yeah.
had a problem getting on.
Yeah, you're right. This is.
So what we're watching is this wonderful blank screen here.
But I do, I do have an operating version of the entire application and Flask and everything in one little zip file. So if somebody wants it, I'll just email it, or we can put it up on the site and people can download it and play with it. Okay. It's still not on there.
Should be able to pick it up. Go ahead. Yeah.
Here?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, that's where it was. Oh.
So it should give you a list.
But it's not allowing me to put an SSD in. So.
You don't need it. Well, I can usually do it on mine without doing that. Yes. My family uses. VAUMC. Hyphen, yes. That's not the network. Well, take a hyphen. Are you just trying to get on the double X's?
Yeah.
Are you just trying to get on a network?
See, normally what happens is any network CCs are
You should have a
listed,
list.
and it said there's no wireless interface.
That means that the pie's not, the wireless interface on the pie's not.
Yeah.
You haven't turned it off, haven't turned it on.
Well,
It's a no interface power. Well, it can't find the Wi-Fi on.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we only have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Why don't you give people a tour of this thing, because that's the core of it, is this thing that you put together here that does the pulse oximeter. What are the pieces parts of it? You know, what is this thing?
Oh, okay. Well, we talked about what the sensor is. And the
Okay,
sensor
so
is-
show us more about the sensor. How does it work? How do you set it up? You put it on your finger, what do you do?
Yes, I have a paper on that. You can put it inside of a finger clip or something. Can they see that?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So there's, normally there's a little clip that holds it there because it's very pressure sensitive. So if you're moving your finger around and stuff, it doesn't come up very well.
Then it's hooked up to this Pi, right?
That's right. And if all is working right, it posts it to a little, it posts it to a web, it posts it to a little web page, which I will show you what that looks like. Maybe. Here we go. So,
Yeah, you got it.
so when it's working,
Hold it still.
Oh, hey, good to
when it's working, that's what it posts
Oh,
to the website, and you can.
hey. Rob, that's cool.
Oxygen sensing on any device that's on your. You can set it up for.
Very nice.
You can set it up to send somebody a text message if it goes below a certain thing, or ring a bell, or buzz a buzzer, or shock your dog.
So if you're having to check that at night, anything like that, you can have it track you and send a note or alarm to somebody to tell them, or even alarm to yourself. To tell you, hey, wake up, you got a pulse problem here.
And it can also save the data to a file or upload it to a remote database, and then your doctor can look at it, and you'll have an actual track record of every pulse beat, every heartbeat, and track your oxygen levels through the night. So it's very powerful, considering I think that chip is $5. The one I bought, I got from, you can get a version of it on Amazon that's perfectly good. I got the one from the manufacturer that's like $25, but I wanted to have the exact thing. So, well, anyway, folks, without the internet, an internet app is pretty toast. But thanks for hanging in there, and I apologize for that. We'll have to get this straight for the next one. I should have done it from home because then I would have had everything there. That was
Thank you, Rob.
an hour packing and an hour unpacking and a half an hour setting up was to just do it at home.
You had a question, I think.
All righty.
Somebody had a question.
Oh, somebody have a question?
I heard somebody say Rob, so.
Did someone have a question? Hello?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this is the exception to the rule in your life, but just think about, for some people, this is the rule. This failure to launch, or whatever, however you want to characterize it. So maybe you can come back and do it again next time.
Yeah, I'll do it from home next time because I've got everything all set up, and you know, it was probably risky to try it here because I've personally never gotten on the internet here, and I know that the ones at our church, it might say St. James church, but what's actually going to the server is quite different, and nobody could really put an app on it, but you can sign in through your phone. Because what it sends your phone and what gets sent back, it recognizes, but I'm not sure that that's the same as typing it into a, into a file. So not sure. Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, everyone.
Do you have any closing words?
That's it, everybody. Thank y'all for hanging in with us.
Thank you. See you next
Thank you,
time.
John. Thank you, Rob.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Say hi to Alex.